We're going to start our session, Mindful Sustainability, Balancing Wellbeing and Data in a Harmonized World. And this presentation, as I've mentioned before, would be Associate Professor Dr. ENRICO BERTELLI over there, and Professor Dr. KIMHO over here. But we're going to separate this session into two presentations. So the first one will be presented by Professor Dr. KIMHO. And the paper is Music and Wellbeing in the Context of Liberal Arts Education, a case study of the Link Sound Sinfonia Project. So without further ado, welcome Professor Dr. KIMHO. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Firstly, thanks PGVIM again for inviting me. So I'm going to, this talk is going to be subdivided into two parts. So I'm going to talk about the first part, and Dr. ENRICO will talk about the second part, more related to making use of creative technology. Now, first, the title, Music and Wellbeing in the Context of Liberal Arts Education. By liberal arts education, I mean that our university, Lingnan University in Hong Kong, is a liberal arts education university. And our music unit, it's for students from any kind of major. So in other words, none of our students are music major, so which is a very important background you should know about. And then I'm going to talk about a case study of the Link Sound Sinfonia Project, which I'm going to introduce to you. And also in response to the key theme of the conference, conflict and harmony, I would like you to draw your attention to a concept which is going to link up with many ideas in this presentation, which is destabilizing of polarities. I quote this concept from because I was a scholar in a research center in Germany, and this is also related to the vocal workshop just an hour before, because I think a very renowned German performance study writer, Professor Erika Fischer-Lichter, she wrote about the transformative power of performance, and that comes from destabilization of polarities. So I draw this idea to think that maybe this is a very important concept when we talk about conflict and harmony, is how to destabilize the polarities between the two. And you will see in this whole project, you will see a lot of polarities are being destabilized as well. For example, teachers and learners, people who are disabled, people who are able, order and disorder, things that are composed or improvised, sound or noise, SEN or non-SEN, so special education need is short form is SEN. Now, let me introduce to you to the project, Link Sound Sinfonia Project. The project, this is now the third year of our project, is funded by a private funder, AR Foundation, to our university. So as as the head of the music unit, I'm offering a curatorial kind of overseeing the project, and also my most important role is the researcher to find out pedagogy that are used in this project. And the project itself is to try to interact with music learners from a wide range of different backgrounds. So in other words, no matter people who are interested in Western classical music or maybe traditional Chinese music or pop music, they can actually learn in this project. So I'll tell you a little bit more about by learning. One very important element is the funder would like us to actually help people with physical disability, so in the PWD, or our project would like to target more for people with mental or intellectual disabilities. The reasons being, I believe that music is helping, is connected to our brain, so music help with our brain, and hence mental issue would be more connected rather than physical issue. If we are helping people without an arm, for example, I think we need an engineer to help them to build a mechanical arm. And also, we would like to maybe redefine people's understanding about special educational needs. I think throughout my presentation, you will see that I'm trying to break the preconception about what people think who are the conventional learner or student. Some are students with special educational needs. As a matter of fact, I find out that more than 50% of our students actually have some form of special education need, maybe depression or maybe ADHD. So I just feel that maybe there's no point to make a very clear definition who are the special education need. And it is also a platform that cherishes diversity, equity, and inclusion, trying to invite everyone to be able to play music with a shared love for music. So this is a very general introduction about the project. Now, in this project, I'm going to, because time is short, I'm going to just share with some elements with you. This is the overview about all the music training modules. If a member from the community, if they are, they have a doctor's letter proving that they have autism, in this project, they are able to get free music lessons. Because of that, also we have to define who are the people who have autism. Otherwise, all the parents will come to us and say, my child also want to learn music for free. Of course, then the funder would not like us to do that. This is the range of teaching modules we have. As you can see, really a wide range of different instruments, and including digital composition, and even recently with dance and movement as well. In these teaching modules, as a research, I try to find out how many different kind of personnel are there in these teaching modules. Of course, apart from the SCN or PWD learners, we have tutor, also we have assistant tutor. Some of the assistant tutor actually are our university students. And also I set up an internship so that students actually can learn as they participate in this project. And of course, we work with social worker, especially when some of the community members might need help from them. And also clinical psychologists and music therapists. We also invite them to be our mentors so that we can work together as a team. Apart from that, also some research helpers, as you know, we collect questionnaire and also take the video. A very important concept in this presentation is about co-learning, which means both the student and the community learner can actually co-learn together. I see myself as the most important task is to create a platform so that both the student and the learner can actually learn together. In fact, including the teachers and the tutors, so that we can co-learn together. And also exploring some tailor-made solutions, because each individual are very, very different. We can't really say that certain kind of music or certain kind of teaching method will be good for all the SEN. It would not be possible like that. Revisiting link between music learning and our well-being. For some musical genres, it always be about well-being, but some musical genres, it seems to be less related. So I'm trying to see that, to revisit the link between the two. And finally, the dialogue concerning creativity and sustainability, which I will conclude at the end as well. Now, let's start. I want to share with you a couple of videos that I have collected through a massive amount of documentaries they have made. So these are the case study. I want to single out 4 or 5 individuals, share with you some of the videos. No, so first sample, well, for the reason not to let you know the background, so I just call them with boy H. So this boy H, first year, he came to us. He can play piano very well, but he has never written any composition. So one of the first things we invited him to do is guide him to write his own composition. So this is a tune that he composed during the first year of our project. short piece. Yeah, but in fact, I think it was a very nice piece that he is able to compose all on his own. By second year, our tutor would like to introduce to him something that related to electronic instrument. So this is a short video showing you how he explored the sound with electronic instrument.
一係 keep 住，淨係 E 同 G 咯。我覺得淨係 E 同 G 都好啲。好啊。好喎，用黑鍵好喎，幾好聽。記唔記得呢個㗎？記唔記得呢個點彈㗎？要唔要試下彈一次？試下喂，嚟啊！試下彈呢個，彈呢個彈。
Not the most conventional kind of melody. As you can see, he's starting a journey of creating, a bit more unconventional melody. I want to just share with you one aspect of the quantitative analysis. With the guidance of our clinical psychologists, we use a brief question set called behavior rating inventory of executive function, which is to access how music learning or participatory music activity may bring about cognitive, emotional, and behavioral changes in people with SEN. Now, I also, as a researcher, I'm very frank with numbers. In fact, what the result of the T-score of this boy H shows that after 3 years of his participation of our project, more of the criteria in this questionnaire are clinically elevated. And when I asked the psychologist, which means actually it's worse. When it's clinically elevated, means actually become worse. So if you say the cognitive side, actually the score become higher, it means it's clinically more elevated. It means that is even worse. And so I was a bit worried. So what does it mean? Because when you see him, he is actually improving a lot. He's actually doing a lot more creative work. But why the score shows that actually become clinically more elevated? And the psychologists actually reassure me and say that maybe you can argue that as improved awareness, because he was not aware about those issues as people with an autistic spectrum, and then he become more aware after 2 years or 3 years. So he could be argued as, especially among teenage group, more improved the awareness of that. So this is in the very beginning stage of my research. So this is just to show you one of the aspects which may be used as an argument. This is the score. I won't bore you with all the number or the bar chart showing that, for example, some of the elements are clinically elevated. For example, inhibition or emotional control. These are some of the examples. Now, let's move on to another sample. Now, she is girl K. I want to draw your attention. She is very classically trained. She liked to play music like Chopin, Bach, Beethoven. And once she start to play music, she need to finish the whole piece. You can't stop her halfway. She feel very angry if you start. Maybe you are one of them like this as well. And you will see that, she start to improvise also during our project. So let's have a look at how she improvised with some sound samples.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in the beginning, this is the third year already. In the beginning, it was very hard to convince her to play any sound without a score and also not classically trained. Now, recently, she joined a piece that is, she will have to improvise in this composition. For your information, the piece is AI generated from Suno, and then the band played their own arrangement of the piece. The piece will be performed next month, actually, in our annual performance. The lyrics was actually written by her. She really liked cooking fried noodles. So she made a piece about frying noodles. For your information, our mentor, the clinical psychologist, says that many people with autism spectrum would like Western classical music because of the complexity of Western classical music, because they like complexity. But then if you convince them to improvise, it's considered to be a significant improvement in clinical psychologists, because it's the flexibility that you need to respond to other people. Now, Boy J, he would share with you a little bit about peer group building and to help with self-esteem. This is from an excerpt from his interview.
咁其次就係都係喺同啲學生嘅相處上面咧，係會知多咗好多嘢，同埋就係有啲望到自己咁啊！就係有時特別好似頭先講咁樣，即係啱啱上完嗰堂感受比較深啲啦。就係其實我見到兩個學生咧，即係我頭先跟嘅兩個學生，其實佢哋唔係做唔到，佢哋彈到啊！即係佢哋原來要有時人咧嗰個 mentality 或者嗰個心理上咧。需要嘅就只係原來係有支筆指住話俾佢聽呢度呢度呢度，而佢其實係實際上係做到喎咁樣。咁喺呢啲嘢嘅時候，我都會好感慨或者點就係，因為我自己可能都會，我估每個人啦都曾經會有啲困難係好難跨過。咁原來只係我哋原來需要或者渴望嘅就係有個人話俾你聽，我呢度呢度呢度咁樣。咁即係我意思係呢個 course 或者點都。等我認知到就係原來學生係需要呢啲嘢咯。
So he shared about the step-by-step procedure as a very important thing to teach the member with autism. As you might know, people with autism will find it very difficult if you're not following the steps strictly. And so he's talking a little bit about that. This is just to share with you in the research, I would summarize 4 very important pedagogical approaches based on the experience in the teaching module. So I'm looking at the way how these teaching modules are being delivered and try to summarize some of the important pedagogical approaches. So peer group building is important to let especially choir member or ensemble member to do the peer group building. Just now we talk about step-by-step procedure. The next video you will see a sample of the performance of the Link Sound Sinfonia, and you will see how the ensemble is mixed with different instruments to overcome the difficulties of tuning or different practices, and also to use the performance as a goal, as a learning goal. This following piece may be familiar with some of you here. It's led by our colleague, Dr. Yui Shikakura, and to introduce to us a piece from Okinawa. So this is our Link Sound Sinfonia.
Is coming back, and I want you to audience to join.
我頭先都係
The
提議
chorus.
大家咧可以喺個 chorus 嗰部分咧一齊 join 嘅。So
It's quite simple. We just sing don don pam pam don pam pam don don pam pam don pam pam don don pam pa don don pam pa don pam pam. Just saying don don pam pam don pam. That's it.
So everyone
Yanis,
can sing together.
Yanis, can you just play the first note? Don 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 pam pam. 1. Play like people wants to join. This is a festival song. If you play rubbish, people don't want.
哦，所以你要玩到咧，好似好邀請埋佢哋一齊嚟玩咁樣
Okay,
個氣氛嘅。
so otherwise we cannot give you a score. So.
OK，所以我哋全部試一次係由頭玩一次嘅。So 3 times from the beginning, only the musicians and also of course with Erhu together. 即係所有嘅人一齊玩咗一次先，跟住我哋就再邀請觀眾一齊參與啦，咁啊 OK。So from the beginning, only them first.
Was it 1, 2?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
So as you can see, if I don't tell you who are our students, who are SEN, there's no difference among them. So it is my intention in this presentation, I don't really tell you who are what. Okay, I noticed the time, so very quickly, I want to give credit to Boy A, who made all the documentary from this everything that I present today. He's very talented with making documentary. So this is from one of the African drum performance. At the end, he made this. So also from that footage, he created a full documentary from the African group. Now, as you can see, you have seen several people here. In fact, they include both our SEN learners. Some of them are actually our tutor. Some of them are actually assistant tutor. Some of them are student intern from our university. I don't even need to tell you who is who. It's my intention to let you know that, we don't need to make a clear categorization among them. And some of them have autistic spectrum disorder, ASD, or some of them have attention deficit hyperactive disorder, ADHD. One of them have post-traumatic stress disorder. One of them said it was very difficult to say hi to anyone after 2 years of COVID social distancing period. I'm sure that might apply to some of you as well. To conclude, I think it's my intention in this presentation not to make the clear definition between who are able, who are not able, who are SEN, who are not SEN, who are learner, who are not learner. Of course, it takes me a little bit of time to convince the funder as well. Why do you fund someone is able, you co-learn with some SEN together? But we do try to establish the essence of music in the context of liberal art education, and also the potential for music's therapeutic role in our well-being. And I believe that these 2 points are very much connected to the next part of our presentation. Also is about mindful sustainability. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much again, Professor Dr. KIMHO. Okay, I'm gonna stand here. Okay, so first of all, thank you so much for bringing this project, Link Sound Sinfonia, and thank you for bringing all the case studies. Like, we've learned so much from your project, your pedagogy, and first of all, like, your project not only bring people with what I would say differently able, because they able but in different ways together, and we not even know like what our their abilities are. But they can become a group and play the music together, and most of all, they learn to be more creative. Because as you say, like they love complexity, but this like kind of project also helped them to be able to improvise, to come together, and share their love of music together, be more creative. And thank you so much for bringing this project and your case studies. Next, we're gonna have Assistant Professor Dr. ENRICO. And he will be talking about creativity in the Metaverse, and it's going to be a little bit about his what he called PEDAL project, presenting enviro-cultural data for interdisciplinary learning.
Yeah, sorry, getting there. Almost there.
You're good.
Screen is there we go. And we managed. Fantastic. So, good afternoon, everybody. Just so we are clear, we are all working on these projects together. So, if you have any questions between today and the next few days, you can fetch KIMHO or Yui or myself, and we're all working together at Lingnan to produce these things. In PEDAL project today, I would like to share what we have found that works, and especially the things that didn't work, in an experiment that we made that culminated in a digital exhibition within a metaverse environment. If you don't know what the metaverse is, it's pretty much, think of it as a game, but instead of being a closed game where somebody decides what happens, it's a open-ended world where, in theory, you are allowed to buy digital land, make an experience where it's a game, a learning opportunity, a film or something, and then people can be invited, visit, interact with it. So that's the key definition. So PEDAL was divided into 4 different areas in an attempt to combine Professor Ibs and my expertise. We started by stimulating the students into an intergenerational dialogue. So we wanted them to reconnect with their elderly, or perhaps with other elder people, so we took them to an old people's home, have some discussions, to temples as well. The idea was to collect memories. But we were really interested in multisensorial memories. So how did Kowloon sound like in 1970s? What was the color of the soy sauce in 1990s as opposed to today? And anything that was not just anecdotal, but also multisensorial, okay? We then moved on to the second part, which was my part, data to music. If you've joined the workshop on Monday, it was pretty much the same thing. In brief, we started from numbers. In this case, it was temperatures in Tunmun, which is the town where our university is. And then we tried, through generative AI, to create some MIDI files. The idea is, can we open up new doors for students to experiment with musical materials? Keep in mind that our students are not music majors. We offer a minor, but if they know musical stuff, it's only because they've studied it elsewhere and they're not studying it at university, okay? So our courses, they have a challenge and an opportunity. It's very interesting because since nobody is a musician, nobody is limited by preconcepts or biases. However, all of our teaching cannot give anything for granted, not even the middle C on the piano or something as simple as a C major, okay? So keep in mind as I'm sharing these things, this is designed for people that know absolutely nothing about music. The third phase of the the project was to bring these two things together. Now, there is absolutely no link between the oral histories that we have collected, and the data to music that we have experimented with. There is no link. But we are asking the students to find the link because it's a creative experiment. Okay? There is a very beautiful example from, is it John Powell, I believe, that says, put Nosferatu, the original Dracula, and The Dark Side of the Moon from Pink Floyd, play them at the same time, and your brain will connect it. So our brains are designed for doing these things. We're not aware of it, but we find links where there are none. And this was the idea for this project. And at the end, we wanted the students to celebrate these connections into an exhibition that was going to be inside the metaverse. In order to be able to do all of these projects, we have used generative AI. Why? For a very simple reason. It's the buzzword. It will get you funding. Use it. One thing that I would like to share with you is AI will never steal your job, but somebody that knows AI better than you will steal your job. So it's not my quote, but it's very useful, so please go for it. I have just shared the apps that we have used, just for your interest, in case you wanted to play around with those. One more, let's call it filter that we use is, if it's not free, for us, it does not exist. Okay, so it has to be available to everybody. It has to be available to people who are non-professionals, and it has to be at least have one free option, okay? So they can be limited. Maybe you can do 10 prompts a day, 3 images a day, but it needs to have that little free stuff. If it doesn't, I ignore it completely because we cannot use it in a lecture. We went through these 4 steps to be able to accomplish the project. And the most important thing, actually, the most important finding that we had was the inability to speak, to write, and to ask questions. For those of you who are students, I'm sure you complain a lot about the questions that you get for essays, for exams, or even for lessons. The reality is that questions are incredibly more difficult than the answers. Formulating a question that taps into the potential knowledge of the student and that retrieves information that is useful for the assessment is an incredibly complicated task, because you need to foresee all possible outcomes and at least the framework of the outcome. So that's a very, very big challenge. What we have noticed is that for most of the interactions, regardless of the medium, visuals, text, audio, or even animation now, the problem was that our students would create a prompt, structured, at least initially, in a questionable way. They would get a result, and they would immediately go to the wow moment, because essentially the output of DALL-E, the output of Stability, is quite pleasing to the eye. But it's always the same. It's exactly the same. We did this experiment on Monday here when we were creating graphic scores. As soon as you ask something, it's very beautiful. But then you look around the room and everybody's got the same. It's not exactly the same, but pretty much it looks like it's been made as a carbon copy thing. So the challenge here is, how do you think the prompt to make it unique, to make it yours, and to make it artistic or creative in a way? So the key findings here is, I'm sure the first point, you all know it, it's very quick to make. But quick does not mean immediate. When you use generative AI, please think of it as a starting point, not the ending point. As you've seen the video from the Link Sound project, Johnny, which is one of the tutors, was coaching the students to create the songs. But then they used that they rearranged, they reorchestrated it, so they played it. So they use generative AI as a starting point, not the ending point. Okay? You will see a lot of presentations these days with generative AI content. You will realize in 10 minutes that is rubbish. These things here, they've been made by Dr. Yoshikakura, who's been drawing for 35 years, actually. And it's completely different. This will not come out from AI, even if it's so simple. I think I used a couple of AI pictures here. You will immediately be able to tell, because they are rubbish. They're useful, but they're not very good. And this is my advice as a lecturer to you, because you're going to use generative AI on your assignments, but it's easy to spot. So remember, just use it as a first step, okay? Not your ending thing. One more thing to keep in mind, whenever you use with generative AI, it does not work well with creative tasks. It works very well with numbers. It understands numbers very well. And the reason for this is because that's what it's designed for. That's what it's trained for. It's not trained in music. It does not understand music. I was talking to a luthier a couple of weeks ago. I was trying to explain, because in Italian, the word timpani, that I'm sure you know as kettle drum or timpani, is the same word for eardrum. Okay, we have timpano is this one, and timpano is, sorry, it was there this afternoon. But the AI doesn't know it. It can kind of get it through context, but you see that you need to provide the context. And the key problem today, for us as a teacher, is that what is in our mind is not necessarily reflected on the sentence that we wrote. So structuring the prompt, or actually teaching people on how to structure the prompt, is a key issue that really changes the quality of the output. I'm going to use the last point pretty much on every slide. It is non-deterministic, which means if you put 1 + 2 equals, it changes all the time. It's not 3. It could be 7, it could be 55, it could be banana, it could be Thai tea, okay? And this is an opportunity and an absolute nightmare for the teacher, okay? Why? Because if I give you a task and I give you the perfect prompt, it's super well done, and you fail, your self-esteem will go down. And if you try to fix it and it doesn't fix, and the person next to you has fixed it on the first moment, your self-esteem goes down. And that's really bad. Why? Because I cannot help you. Because there is no solution, there is no one fit all. We need to think about these new tools as a dialogue, as a reiterative process, and also not take it personally. Because literally, the same workshop run 100 times will provide 100 different results. Even if we're in the same room with the same IP, with the same prompt, with the same LLM, everything same, things change, so they're non-deterministic. The positive is that the result is always different. So if we are able to embrace these results, then we're happy. Where is the easier path? Obviously, visuals are much easier. I'll give an example. When you watch pirated movies, if you've got bad visual quality, you can still watch it. I will watch a cam version of Alien Romulus. I would do it. If it's bad audio, as if it's recorded in the toilet, you just watch it for 10 seconds and then you turn it off. Our ears are not as accommodating as our eyes, okay? Think about it. Most of the visual arts today, they go back to the 90s. We like pixel art. We love pixel art, okay? So we're going back instead of going forward. Instead, we sound, yeah. We use bit crashing, we use bit reductions for specific purposes, but when it comes to the quality of the sound, it needs to be high. So our ears are the bar is much higher when it comes to ears. So what are the educational opportunities? Keep in mind, we're doing all of these things to bring an exhibition inside the metaverse. So first of all, it's an open canvas. So the students lead this creative process. We are just providing a framework, some coaching on the tools, but we're never telling what to do. We're just explaining how to do things. And then somebody can design a chair, somebody can design a city, somebody can design a new microphone, okay? The scope is pretty much endless. We leverage new technologies, and I think this is very interesting for the third point, because it offers an easy introduction to creativity to people who, first, might not be in a creative industry degree, but most importantly, people who might not think as themselves as creatives. And instead, we want everybody to be able to think that, well, they can do stuff. They can do cool stuff, okay? So at least it's point 4. They lower the entry barriers. But I put this question mark, because in reality, we can make lots of beautiful talks, we can make conferences, we can make everything, but when we enter the classroom, there is something very different happening. In our module, I think this pedal, particular one, we did it over 4 different weeks, and they were spread over 7 or 8, like every other week. We had students that after 7 weeks were still not able to log in. They did not know how to use their Google account. The concept of digital native does not exist, okay? Please, in England, we have been teaching 18,000 students a year, all primary school, all digital natives. Not true, not true. It does not exist, okay? Yes, they are immersed in it, but this is a skill that you need to acquire. It's as difficult to teach a year 4 as to teach your grammar. It's exactly the same skill level, okay? It is not, you cannot give it for granted. And I'm sharing these points, especially in my mind, you are people that will probably try to undertake similar projects. So I'm sharing you what we found, the walls that we have found. Wallets, I mean, like MetaMask and stuff, Web3 wallets. These things are so far away from the everyday life of most people that just to create a MetaMask wallet took forever. It was almost impossible. We asked people to get the wallet address and paste it on a Google form. It took 3 weeks. So when you create these things, please be very mindful. I'll skip through the negatives. And one important thing, when you do these type of projects, this is point 4, many skills required, many combined skills required. Sometimes from A to B, like moving this stool, like here. Now, I'm not doctor, but doctor can tell me probably there's 300 muscles that I use to move this. Obviously, to our brain, this is very simple, but it is not if we were a toddler, right? It's the same thing in the digital world. So sometimes, I don't know, the simple thing of file management. The new generation is very, very good with phones and tablets. Have no clue what a directory is, what a subdirectory is, what file management is. Because on an iPad, you go and find the file and you tell me what it is. It doesn't exist. When you download something and you just need to drag and drop, that will take you half an hour to explain. So I'm just trying to advise you on these things. What are the pedagogical challenges? So what happens? Not deterministic, I mentioned it before. And the biggest shock that our students had is that there is no right, there is no wrong. So this is a question that we have all the time. Tuptab, you also did a version of the question today. I think you said, what do I need to know before I can compose? Was that correct? Perfect. Which is the same thing here. We get, what is creativity? When am I done? Because of course, you can do this project in 5 minutes. You do 3 prompts, stability, pseudo, and some ChatGPT writing, stick it in the metaverse, 10 minutes, job done, finished. The assignment is done. I mean, I'm gonna fail you, but you are finished, effectively. So that's the problem. What is creativity? How do I succeed? And this is the challenge of the student-led creativity or the student-led process, because we are all of a sudden giving all of the responsibility to the person, and this person has been coerced into a dichotomy of zeros and ones throughout the secondary school, right? They come to university, it's a new world, and it's just like, oh my goodness, what should I do? Okay, the final thing here is which possibilities are there, and this is in particular a problem that I have. When I start coding and I find an empty canvas in front of me, because I'm not a coder, I have absolutely no clue on how to start. You give me a JavaScript, you give me a Python script, I can tweak it, I know what's going on, but if you tell me now how to write a function in JavaScript, I have absolutely no clue. And it's the same problem that I think artists have had for thousands of years of the blank canvas crisis, where we can start building on something that already exists, modify it, make it unique, but it's really, really challenging when ChatGPT opens and you have an empty prompt to know just to know what type of questions you can ask. And that was one of the biggest pedagogical challenges. The results, actually, were very pleasing because the students, over the course of these weeks, managed to master these skills. Some better than others, of course. But the idea is we had a multimedia exhibition inside the Metaverse. You've seen some pictures in the slides. And the assignment, and that is a little note for the teachers that are here, and they're thinking, oh my goodness, I cannot give essays anymore because ChatGPT does it better than me. So we asked the students to submit a curated walkthrough of their exhibition. So they were essentially walking through on the Metaverse and commenting on, I don't know, you should look at this one first. The table was there because it's the memory of my desk when I was growing up, and that specific doll on top of the piano was a gift from my great-grandfather, and so forth. So that was the type of assignment that showed personal reflection, showed the creative process, and really showed that you could not have done it in 10 minutes. Because if you did it, at that stage, it would have been absolutely blatantly obvious. So in terms of skills, we hope that this project brought a blend of technological and creative skills, but in particular, better prompting skills. As some important new guy says, English is the hottest new coding language, and I think that's probably the best advice. You don't need any other skill. No other language works unless somebody bigger than Google comes up, because all of the LLMs are working only in English. The others are just translations which do not work. If you know how to structure a question perfectly, then you get the result. Is this a skill that is only in IT? No. I believe that this will make us better communicators, because when we speak, when we ask a question, our listener will try to make a leap, because they kind of, as humans, we understand what people mean even if they say something else, right? Computers do not do that. Instead, if we are if we develop these skills of being very specific, very good at asking what we really want or we really mean, then we become better communicators, not just within our discipline, but also across other things. Right, so this project was a big challenge, a lot of technological challenges, a lot of big headaches, but we thought it was worth pushing for reasons that obviously, hopefully, developed skills for the students, mindfulness, well-being, obviously succeeded academically as well. But personally, I have a little crusade here, because before like about 16, 17 months ago, generative AI became the big thing. We were actually waiting for another revolution, which was the Web3 revolution. To be specific, Web 1 is when you have a static page, you read it, scroll it, you cannot do anything. Web 2 is called the social web, so YouTube, you comment, you share, social media, right? Web 3 is the decentralized, so user-owned content, distributed servers, distributed computing. So the idea is we want to open the doors towards these new concepts, because when I hear the word startup, I get bored. This is something that we're trying to push onto us when we were at university. Didn't work. It's not going to work today. They're not going to find any funding. It's not happening. As music is a very, very tough environment. However, this decentralized world opens up to new doors. For example, I don't know if you're familiar with the acronym DAO, which means Decentralized Autonomous Organization. And for example, Decentraland, the metaverse that we're using, is based on that thing. But other thing, very simply, Linux or Debian, they work in exactly the same way. And that means that it's a distributed company without a hierarchy, but with a democracy that is probably the only type of democracy that really works. Because if people don't vote for it, the new upgrade is not happening. So hopefully this gives ideas to students for new business models. And of course, through the blockchain, through the metaverse, we were able to sprinkle some concepts of decentralized finance into into our lessons. So we talked about coins, tokens, which you probably have heard under the big umbrella of crypto, or the non-fungible tokens, or the real-world assets. And you see that this little project that was designed to bring some creativity into the metaverse through various hoops actually opens up new possibilities, hopefully, and opens doors towards employability in the future, new business ideas that the students might have, and hopefully also a little bit of fun. So thank you very much for your patience and for listening, and thanks. Cheers.
Thank you so much again. And thank you for all of the information you give us today. And I would like to quote you, like generative AI is like a starting point, not the ending point. And it's really important skills that we all need to learn these days, how to prompt correctly, how to use the prompt to be more creative. And if anyone would like to share and talk with Professor KIMHO or Professor ENRICO, we will leave this room open, and you can share your knowledge after this. And we're going to have our discovery forum right now on the 3rd floor too. But we're going to leave this room open if you want to talk with one another and share your opinions and ask questions after this. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.